Okay, this is homework for Tuesday, 9/22, and tonight you have to do C, D, and E. You did A and B Monday. You should already be done with those. So remember, Monday you had to figure out the equation, which was y equals 6.5x, and then you had to graph to show that that was a linear relationship. And now we're on C, and it's asking you, how can you find the distances Mike travels in 7 hours and in 9.5 hours using the table, the graph, and the equation? So here I go. Remember, your homework should already be done. You shouldn't be copying this. You should be checking your homework and fixing it if need be. So from the table, in order to find how far Mike went in 7 hours and in 9 hours, what I'd have to do is I'd have to add to the table. I'd have to go 7, and then I'd have to add 6.5 to 39, then I'd have to go 8, and I'd have to add another 6.5, and then I'd have to go 9 and add another 6.5, and that's how I would use the table to get the answer to distance for 7 hours and distance for 9 hours. On the graph, I would have to extend this to 7, 8, and 9 over here on the x-axis, and then I would also have to extend this line out using a ruler, and I'd have to go where 7 was, I'd go up to the line, and then I'd go over this way and read how many miles that gave me. The equation is easier. For the equation, all I have to do is replace the x with 7 hours, because this represents the hours anyway, because he goes 6.5 miles per 1 hour. So I go 6.5 times 7. When there's a number next to a variable, it always means multiply. And that's going to give me 45.5. That's his distance. And then I have to do the problem again because it said also at 9 hours. So then I'd take the 9 and put it where the x was. I would multiply, and that would give me 58.5 miles. And so that's how you could use the table, the graph, and the equation to find that answer. D is asking you how you can find the number of hours it takes him to go 100 miles and 237 using the table, the graph, and the equation. This is a different question because here it was asking you to take 7 hours and find the distance. Now it's giving you the opposite. This time it's giving you distance and you have to find time. So what you'd have to do, to find the number of hours for 100 is you'd have to take the table and you'd have to extend this table by adding 6.5 all the way until it got to 100, and then you'd look over here in the hours and see what it equaled to. And for 237 you'd have to do the same thing. You'd have to go 39 plus 6.5 plus 6.5 all the way until you got to 237, and then look over here in the time spot. On the graph, the way you would do that is you would extend the table up this way and you'd extend your graph out and then see how many hours it was at 100 and 237. That would be really difficult. Honestly, I would not use the table or the graph to answer that question, but the equation is really easy. Using the equation, you just need to replace the y, because it was y equals 6.5x. So this used to be a y right here, with 100, because that's the miles that you're given. And then you solve the equation. I'm solving the equation 100 is equal to 6.5x. So I'm going to divide on both sides by 6.5 because I want the x to be by itself. And this is multiplication, and to undo multiplication you divide. And over here I'm going to divide by 6.5x because whatever you do on one side you have to do on the other. So I showed that work here. And 6.5 divided by 6.5 is equal to 1, and 1 times x is x. And over here 100 divided by 6.5 is 15.384 hours. Now I have to repeat that, but this time I'm going to put the 200 where the y is. And so that gives me the equation 200 equals 6.5x. Again, I divide by 6.5 on both sides because that's how you undo the 6.5 multiplication. And that gives me about 36.461 hours that it would take him to do 237 miles. Your last question for the day is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of using each model, the table, the graph, or the equation? And I said, I find using the equation easiest because you don't need to extend the table or the graph. If you use a graphing calculator, extending the table would be easier, but otherwise using the equation is much easier than extending out a table, especially like if you had to go all the way to 100 or all the way to 237. All right, you are done with your homework. Make sure that you added in things that you didn't have originally and that you changed incorrect answers and that you understand. Remember, you can always rewatch parts that you don't understand. Have a good night, guys.